Imagine someone else owns your physical body. They dictate exactly where you sleep, what you eat, and how much physical pain you are forced to endure. You possess absolutely nothing. You are categorized under the law as a piece of property. Most people would break under the weight of that despair. Most people would surrender their minds the exact moment they lost their physical freedom. But nearly 2,000 years ago, a man born into exactly this position did the unthinkable. He realized that he was vastly freer than the emperor who ruled the known world. His name was Epictetus, a man born into the brutal chains of Roman slavery, whose master was known for unimaginable cruelty. He walked with a crutch for most of his life, lived in absolute poverty, and his only real piece of furniture was a cheap clay lamp. Yet he cultivated a mind so impossibly powerful that centuries of kings, generals, and emperors studied his words just to learn how to endure being alive. How does a crippled slave become the ultimate teacher of emperors? He figured out a secret about human nature that you and I spend our entire lives running away from. You probably think you are free right now. You can choose where to travel, what to buy, and who to call. But beneath that surface illusion of freedom, there is a quiet, grinding anxiety that haunts you. You lie awake staring at the ceiling, replaying a conversation you had years ago. You feel a tight, suffocating knot in your chest when your phone buzzes with an unexpected message. You tie your entire identity to whether your boss validates you, or whether your bank account reaches a number that finally makes you feel safe. Epictetus would look at you and say that you are wearing invisible chains. He observed that people who lived in the absolute height of luxury were often complete slaves to their lust, their greed, their ambition, and their fear. You can be the supreme sovereign of a vast empire, yet completely imprisoned by your own mind. What this means for you is that true slavery has nothing to do with your physical location or your bank balance. It is a state of mind. You are a slave to whatever you allow to upset you. So how do we break these chains? Epictetus built his entire philosophy on one brutal, unfiltered truth. He called it the dividing line of the universe. There are things that are up to us, and there are things that are not up to us. He taught that our desires, our impulses, and our choices are in our power, while our bodies, our property, and our reputation are not. That sounds too simple, doesn't it? But think about how often you violently break this rule. You pour your emotional energy into trying to control the economy, the weather, your reputation, and the fleeting opinions of strangers. You desperately try to avoid sickness, poverty, or being misunderstood, and you break your own heart when you fail. Epictetus recognized that if you desire or avoid things outside your direct control, you are mathematically guaranteeing your own misery. Your will belongs to you. Everything else is borrowed. What this means for you is that every time you stress over a situation you cannot change, you are voluntarily handing over your freedom to a master. You are selling your peace of mind. Today, try this one concrete action. Draw a line down the center of a piece of paper. On the left, write down what is entirely in your control regarding a massive problem you are facing. On the right, write down what is not. Tear the paper in half, throw the right side in the trash, and only look at the left. Now, here is where everything you have been taught about success is completely backward. You have been told that to be safe, you must grip your life tightly. You must anticipate every danger, hoard your money, and fiercely manipulate people's perceptions of you. But the opposite is true. The harder you try to control what isn't yours, the weaker you become. True invincibility does not come from winning every battle. It comes from never entering a contest, where the victory is not entirely in your own power. Epictetus famously said that sickness is a hindrance to the body, but it is not a hindrance to your will. Lameness is a hindrance to the leg, but it is not a hindrance to your will. He was speaking from direct, painful experience. You can chain a man's leg, put him in prison, or cut off his head, but not even the supreme God can overpower his will. We suffer intensely because we confuse our circumstances with ourselves. What this means for you is that your identity is completely insulated from your bad luck. When a project fails or someone rejects you, they are rejecting an external event, not your core self. You are the untouchable observer behind your eyes. But what happens when life feels fundamentally unfair? When you are born into a severe disadvantage or a senseless tragedy strikes without warning, Epictetus offers a profound reframing of human suffering. He tells us to remember that we are simply actors in a play, and the playwright chooses the manner of the story. If the director wants you to play a poor man, a cripple, or a high-ranking magistrate, your only job is to act the part with all your powers. You do not get to pick the cast. You do not get to write the script. You only get to choose how brilliantly you perform the lines you are handed. What this means for you is that complaining about your starting point in life is like an actor throwing a tantrum on stage because he wanted a different role. It ruins the performance. Your action step here is to stop asking why a certain hardship was given to you, and start asking how you can play this specific scene so masterfully that people are forced to applaud your resilience. There is another profound trap we fall into. We view life as a series of possessions that can be violently taken from us. You lose your job. You lose your savings. You lose someone you love deeply. The grief feels like an agonizing theft. But Epictetus demands that we change our vocabulary. He insists that we should never say of anything, "I lost it," but rather, "I gave it back." Has your child died? It was given back. Has your estate been taken from you? That too was merely given back. You do not own the people or the objects in your life. You are a traveler renting a room at an inn. You enjoy the warmth of the fire and the comfort of the bed, but you do not weep when it is time to check out and leave the furniture behind. What this means for you is that the pain of loss is largely fueled by the delusion of ownership. When you view everything you love as a temporary, beautiful loan from the universe, you stop clinging to it with desperate fear. You start appreciating it with deep, present gratitude. We inflict a massive amount of pain on ourselves through a misunderstanding of reality itself. We think that events hurt us. We think that a cruel comment or a financial loss is the source of our anger or sadness. Epictetus realized that foul words or physical blows are not outrages in themselves. It is strictly your own judgment of them that makes them an outrage. When someone makes you fiercely angry, it is not the person who angered you, but your own thought that has angered you. We are terrified by our own manufactured opinions about things, not the things themselves. If you can create a gap, just a solitary second of delay between an event and your reaction to it, you regain your entire empire. What this means for you is that nobody can harm you without your active consent. Your peace is entirely dependent on your own internal narrative. You are the ultimate gatekeeper of your emotions. If you refuse to classify an event as a disaster, the disaster instantly ceases to exist in your mind. As you start to grasp this kind of internal power, you might be tempted to talk about these ideas constantly. You might want to show off your new philosophical mindset to your friends, posting quotes or arguing at dinner parties. Epictetus vehemently warned against this. He said that sheep do not bring grass to their shepherds to show them how much they have eaten. Instead, they digest their fodder internally and produce it in the form of wool and milk. Do not display your principles to the multitude. Show them the results of the principles you have digested. What this means for you is that personal growth is a silent internal revolution. You don't need to announce that you are changing. You just need to become undeniably different. Let your calmness under pressure be the only proof anyone needs. We spend our lives waiting. We wait until we have more money, until we find the perfect partner, until we feel completely secure, before we decide to step into our true strength. We think freedom is a distant destination we will eventually reach if we just acquire enough external things. But the door stands open. You have been holding the key to your own cell this entire time. You are the one who locked yourself in with opinions, fears, and a frantic desire for things you don't actually control. And you are the only one who can let yourself out. You have the power to say, right now, that nothing outside your own mind will ever dictate your worth again. Will you step out into the light, or will you stay in the dark, complaining about the chains you put on yourself?
Follow Psych, guys. Your brain will thank you.